Hi, I'm Belinda Wilkin, and 20 years ago I bought this property at Mabu North, and it's about 50 acres, and I planned to run sheep and cattle. At the time there was only a hot wire on the boundary, and I had to put in a fence, so I contacted the local land care group at Ballara South, and got a little bit of funding for fencing, and so I fenced off the creek here. And just in the 20 years it's been absolutely amazing that all these ferns have regenerated. There were probably about 4 ferns at the time, a few old blackwoods, but just in that time you can see how many ferns there are, and the tree ferns have actually grown quicker than I thought. They were very slow growing. They've actually grown a lot quicker than I thought they would. A few years ago I went to a land care seminar with the giant Gippsland earthworm, and also there was some information on the burrowing crayfish, and then I realised I think I've got those on my property. So I've had the land care facilitators out and had a look, and yes, we've got the burrowing crayfish here, which is very exciting, and they've got their own little bit of paradise here.
That area of Victoria, or southeastern Victoria really, is a hot spot for burrowing crayfish. So we're lucky that we have a large number of species, but we do have a number of threatened species. And 2 of the ones that we're going to talk about, I think, today are the Narracan and the Strzelecki burrowing crayfish. Now, most people are familiar with yabbies, because they eat them, basically, and you find them in dams and things like that. The difference is with these crayfish is they're actually called, or known as terrestrial crayfish, and they actually pretty much build their burrows on land. They're connected to the water table mostly, but they do build them on land, as opposed to the yabbies that are often found in dams. So these 2 species of crayfish are actually found in the mountainous areas of the eastern Strzelecki ranges. They occur over an area, both of them, of about 20 by 30 kilometres, but they don't overlap in their range. They're actually next to each other, and they occur in the high altitude areas, generally in the ferny gullies of wet and damp sclerophyll forest. And even for the Strzelecki burrowing crayfish, sometimes the cool and warm temperate rainforest. Well, the one great thing about these burrowing crayfish is when you've got them because of these wonderful architectural soil chimneys that they build that surround their entrances. So generally, if you see these mud chimneys that people often call them, you'll know you've got burrowing crayfish. They can be all different shapes and sizes, from really small fan-shaped squat to really tall pelleted chimneys that might reach as high as 9 or 10 centimetres. They probably move around a little bit, along a creek. They might disperse if they get flooded out a bit, use the waterways to move a bit. They do actually crawl around a bit on land at night or when they're mating. So there would be some local movement, but not a lot. We really don't know a lot about these particular species at all, but based on what most burrowing crayfish do, they tend to mate around that spring and summer. So the mates will come out at night or after heavy rain, the males, and pop into the burrow of the female where mating happens. And then the females will carry the eggs under their tail, probably through that summer into autumn, where they will hatch. And then you'll often get family groupings within the one burrow system. You think these areas of the Strzelecki ranges once had these amazing forests, very tall forests of mountain ash and warm temperate rainforest, cool temperate rainforest. Most of that is gone, and a lot of it is now left along creek banks and gullies and that sort of environment. So the main thing for them is protecting the habitat that remains. So definitely fencing those sorts of ferny gullies off where you have remnant vegetation, and doing supplementary replanting. And also there's some lovely examples where people have re-established as best they can that sort of vegetation type in the gullies that were once cleared. So therefore you're creating habitat, maybe adjacent to some existing habitat. So it's around that sort of revegetation and protecting what you have. And that's really important, and that's really what we need landowners to think about their land. That things like these crayfish, their main habitat is on private property. So if we don't get the landowners to look after them, nobody else is going to. So it's really important that they take on that ownership, to protect them.
I feel very honoured, and I want to protect them, and just maybe set an example for other farmers that this can be done. and it hasn't set me back financially, and hopefully they're here and protected for many generations to come.